Developing right now on Morning News Now, terror and tragedy at a Detroit area synagogue. A driver ramming a car into the place of worship before he was shot dead in a gunfight with a security guard. Now, new information about the suspect in what the FBI is calling a targeted act of violence.
This is a deeply disturbing and tragic incident, and our deepest sympathies are with the victims, their family, and the entire Jewish community.
This is senseless. It's senseless. We have to be better than this. This is not okay.
And in Virginia, a deadly shooting at Old Dominion University now being investigated as an act of terrorism. We'll bring you the latest, including the suspect's criminal past. Also developing, the war on Iran intensifying. Overnight, President Trump warning to watch what happens next after Iran's new supreme leader issues his first statement to the public. And this morning, we're learning several crew members have died after a U.S. refueling aircraft went down in Iraq. Plus, Iran launching a new wave of attacks across the Gulf, sending oil prices soaring once again. We'll have updates from the Mideast to Washington. Mother Nature showing no mercy as a series of severe storms batters both coasts. Now millions of people bracing for more winter weather as the weekend begins. Angie's tracking the conditions and what you can expect where you live. And a calorie controversy involving a popular protein bar now at the center of a class action lawsuit. The allegations of undercounting that are raising questions about what's really in the food that you eat. Good morning. Good to have you with us on a Friday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off. We begin this hour with new details about the suspect in that terrifying car ramming attack on a Michigan synagogue. The FBI is investigating it as a possible act of terrorism. Yesterday, authorities say that man, armed with a rifle, drove a car through the doors of Temple Israel Synagogue, where a preschool class was in session. The suspect managed to drive down a hallway before he was killed by security guards. Smoke could be seen billowing from the building, which is about 30 miles northwest of downtown Detroit. No children or staff members were hurt. Now, this morning, a local Lebanese official is telling NBC News that several members of the attacker's family were killed in an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon just last week. The FBI special agent in charge says that multiple local, state, and federal agencies are investigating.
And I can confirm that we are leading the investigation right now as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community.
Temple Israel's executive director, Jason Plotkin, and Rabbi Joshua L. Bennett will join me in just a moment. First, though, let's get to NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster. He is in West Bloomfield with the latest on what happened and more about what we are learning about the suspect. Shaq, good morning.
You still see an active scene behind me. Investigators definitely working through the night to process this scene, collect as much evidence as possible. The FBI is saying they're investigating this as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. Police say that this all started around noon yesterday, just after noon, when they say they responded to calls of a possible active shooter. But when they arrived, they realized that as there was essentially a preschool operating in this building behind me, that a man drove his vehicle into the building, drove through the hallways, and then was stopped by local security, private security at this synagogue, that then opened fire to stop the suspect. Now, you mentioned that suspect is now being identified by the Department of Homeland Security. They're identifying him as Ahmed Mohammed Ghazali, saying he's a naturalized U.S. citizen from Lebanon. But authorities say there's still so many questions that they're trying to answer. They have not identified a motive for this attack, and they're still trying to figure out why the vehicle he was driving essentially burst into flames during that attack. They say that it's ignited in some way, so they're still seeing exactly what the cause of that was. That fire, by the way, ended up sending about 30 members of law enforcement to the hospital for smoke inhalation. We know there was at least one security guard who was also injured in the attack, apparently was hit by the car, by the vehicle and knocked out, though he's expected to survive. survive. But the key point here is that none of the children inside, none of the 140 kids, none of the staff members, the faculty, the teachers were injured in this attack. They were all evacuated and reunited with family afterwards. So this is definitely a scene that has rocked this community, definitely a concerning situation, and authorities saying that there's a lot more to investigate and a lot more to learn in the hours and days to come. Guys.
All right, Shaq, thank you. Joining us to talk more about this terrifying scene in Michigan yesterday, Temple Israel's executive director, Jason Plotkin, and Temple Israel's Rabbi Joshua Bennett. We appreciate you both joining us on what I know is a difficult morning for you. Jason, we'll start with you. Can you let us know just where you were during the attack and what you saw in the moments after as you started to realize what was happening?
Yeah, so I was in my office, which is adjacent to the hallway where the vehicle came through. I was on a Zoom call, and all of a sudden I heard a large crash. I was like, there was nothing in the hall that would have been like such a significant crash. I got off the Zoom call, looked in the office, and staff were running by for safety. I saw a lot of damage and smoke in the hallway. And then all of a sudden started hearing what was gunshots adjacent to my office. So at that point, instincts kicked in. We do security training regularly. I lowered the window to my office. I hid under the desk. But unfortunately, the smoke, because I have an exterior door as well that goes to that hallway, was coming in pretty rapidly, particularly as I was on the ground under my desk. And I had to make the decision at that point to run. Because I couldn't take the smoke much longer. It was, as you heard, there were quite a few people impacted by the smoke on site. And I had to zigzag through different parts of the office and exited out a different exit to the building just to get away from the smoke, because it was coming in really quick, really heavy. As I said, I was adjacent to where the vehicle came in through the building.
And the entire time, I'm sure you just didn't realize what was actually unfolding. Rabbi, I want to bring you into the conversation. What was it you witnessed yesterday, and what was going through your mind as everything unfolded?
So I was not in the building when the attack took place. I had an off-site meeting, and I immediately, when I heard through a barrage of text messages, I made my way to Temple Israel. Unfortunately, by the time I arrived, the police presence was so enormous that the roads were blocked and we had to walk about a mile to get to our site. I met up with my colleagues who were across the street because of the incredible friendship and partnership we have with our local community members. We set up a staging area for parents to arrive and collect their children. We made sure that everybody was accounted for. And we are so grateful for the unbelievably swift response of our local security teams, our local law enforcement, and everybody who is a part of this.
And Jason, I want to ask you more about that. I mean, the police chief, Dale Young, said it was Temple security officers who, in their words, neutralized the threat yesterday. But in recent years, we've seen this rise in anti-Semitic attacks here in the U.S. Now tensions are even higher because of the war in the Middle East. So, Jason, with that in mind, what are some of the safety measures that you've been putting in place, and how effective were those yesterday?
Yeah, the safety measures literally made a huge difference. Everyone executed as we had been trained. Our ECC, which is our Early Childhood Center, faculty were trained, our staff were trained. We literally had an FBI training about 6 weeks prior to yesterday's incident. Our security team is our own guys. We have about 8 to 10 guys on our security staff, and there's always a presence at Temple Israel of our security. A lot of the synagogues have to invest 4 to 8% of their annual budget on security. We do as well. And these guys executed as they're supposed to. They engaged the individual and neutralized the individual to keep us all safe. And these gentlemen, I mean, we run a preschool, as everyone's heard. It's really relational policing, and that's what we have with our local police as well. We have partnerships and relationships, as Rabbi Josh alluded to, and the preparation from the security aspect, having the relationships in place. The officers know us, they know our building, they know our people. It just helps move things really rapidly in the response, and we're just grateful for our security team, our security partners, and the continued relationships and the execution that we work on really put us in position to be successful and keep everyone safe yesterday.
And Rabbi, knowing the FBI is investigating this as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community, what is your message right now to your community, but also just the broader Jewish community across the country who might be feeling scared right now?
There are two things that we're thinking about. One is that we want people to recognize the Jewish community will remain strong, that we are not going to allow these moments to deter us from our worship, from our education, and from being a powerful community that gets to live in this incredible country in freedom. But the other message that I want people to understand is that this is what it looks like for the Jewish community around the world right now, that we are living in a challenging time. And as Jason said, we have to deal with these issues by putting our dollars behind keeping our communities safe and secure. And that without the partnerships with our law enforcement agents, without the community friends we have, we could not do this. So the combination of all of that allows us to continue to be a strong and vibrant response to these incidents.
Rabbi Joshua Bennett and Jason Plotkin, we appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. We're glad that everyone in your synagogue is safe this morning as well. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This morning, a separate violent attack is also being investigated as a possible act of terrorism. This one in Virginia. A gunman was killed yesterday after opening fire inside a classroom full of ROTC members at Old Dominion University in Norfolk. One victim was killed, 2 others were injured in the shooting. Authorities say the suspect was subdued by the students. We're now learning that the gunman had previously been convicted of providing material support to ISIS. NBC's Ryan Nobles has more on the students who stepped in to end the attack.
The suspected terror attack playing out on a campus in Virginia. Old Dominion University on high alert after a shooter opened fire in a classroom.
Reports of an active shooter in the building.
Just before 11 a.m., officials say 36-year-old Mohammed Baylor Jala specifically targeted an ROTC class on the Norfolk, Virginia campus.
We have confirmed reports that prior to him conducting this act of terrorism, he shouted, stated Allah Akbar.
O. Jermaine Bego's son was in the room and called soon after the gunfire broke out.
He was very distraught and nervous. You can hear it in his voice, but he wanted to let me and his mother know that he was okay, that he was unharmed.
A group of brave students stepped in to subdue the suspect.
And if not for them, I'm not sure, what else he may have done.
According to police, 1 person was killed, 2 others injured. The shooter also died. The Secretary of the Army saying both people injured were Army personnel. Virginia's governor identifying the victim as Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw, calling him a devoted ROTC instructor. Jallo is from Sterling, Virginia, and was a former member of the Army National Guard. He was arrested in 2016 for attempting to provide material support to ISIS, according to court documents, and allegedly attempting to gather weapons to be used in an attack in the U.S. The complaint at the time said Jallo also attempted to provide funds to people hoping to join ISIS. Documents show that he pleaded guilty to a terrorism-related charge. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison and was released in 2024, according to the Department of Justice. Classes at Old Dominion University are canceled for the remainder of the week as the investigation is ongoing.
At this point, officials are still trying to figure out what the suspect's specific motive was, and they're asking the public for help. They want to know if anyone saw the suspect prior to this incident, who he may have been talking to, and if anyone was feeding him information.
All right, Ryan Nobles, thank you. As the war with Iran approaches the 2-week mark, the conflict shows no signs of slowing down. In developing this morning, U.S. Central Command confirms that an Air Force refueling plane went down in western Iraq early this morning, and 4 of the 6 crew members on board were killed. The military says rescue efforts do continue. Before that, Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, broke his silence yesterday. He released a message days after succeeding his father, who was killed killed in the initial U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran. The new leader did not appear in person. Instead, the message was read by a news anchor on state TV. The new supreme leader said the critical Strait of Hormuz should remain closed, choking off the flow of oil. He also promised Iran will continue to attack its Middle East neighbors, which host U.S. bases. President Trump seemed to fire back in a Truth Social post overnight, claiming the U.S. is totally destroying the terrorist regime in Iran and warning his audience to, in his words, watch what happens to them today. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv, Israel, with the latest. Matt, good morning. Let's start with this breaking news this morning. U.S. Central Command saying that refueling aircraft went down in Iraq, killing 4 U.S. service members who were on board. What more are we learning?
Yeah, well, we're learning more by the moment because, as you mentioned, there's still a rescue operation going on, or at least a search and rescue operation in western Iraq. As you said, 4 out of the 6 crew members were killed. The military was very careful to say this was neither a friendly fire incident nor a combat incident. This was simply an error that killed these 4 people. We don't know about the welfare of the other 2 crew members, so we could see this casualty figure rising. Now, this tragically brings the number of U.S. servicemen who have been killed in this conflict between the U.S. and Israel on one side and Iran on the other, I should say service people, to 11. As you mentioned, we enter the 2-week period starting tomorrow.
And Matt, in Israel where you are, what is the latest on the ground?
Well, actually, Joe, for the first time, we really didn't hear that many sirens all night last night. Normally, we'd get woken up by 2:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning for some kind of siren. Instead, we heard one somewhat late last night, and so far, we haven't heard a single one. Now, we are continuing still to hear multiple times a day that we haven't, gotten into today yet. These sirens and warnings about missiles being fired from Iran, or lately even more from Lebanon, from Hezbollah in the north. But increasingly, the IDF is telling us that the number of missiles in each of these salvos has been decreasing, which makes them quite a bit easier for the Israelis to swat out of the sky.
Matt, we know Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told reporters yesterday that his military has targeted Iran's nuclear project, including what he says are severe blows to senior scientists who led to the development of these nuclear bombs. What more can you tell us about what he's saying about the military operation?
Yeah, well, we keep hearing about this, that there's targets that are wide-ranging from senior leaders of the Iranian regime to military facilities, intelligence facilities, and last week we saw massive attacks against several different energy facilities that spewed toxic air and toxic substances into the atmosphere. So we're seeing a wide range, including hitting those ballistic missile sites. We've gotten a lot of information from the IDF that they've been taking out a lot of these, and yet we're still seeing ballistic missiles being fired. The big question remaining here, Joe, is what happened to the about 450 kilograms, it's nearly 1,000 pounds, of highly enriched uranium. That's uranium that's been enriched up to 60%. That is only used for a weapon of like a nuclear bomb. And so far, it remains largely unaccounted for by the United States and Israel. So there is a real hunt to see where this material is. It's about the size and weight of a grand piano or maybe a small horse. So it's something that you can't put in your pocket, but it could be moved. So it could be anywhere in Iran right now.
All right, Matt Bradley reporting from Tel Aviv. Matt, thank you so much. Now, as the conflict in the Middle East continues to send the price of oil and gas skyrocketing, President Trump is once again shifting his message on the economic impact of this war with Iran. In a post on Truth Social yesterday, the president wrote that when oil prices go up, quote, we make a lot of money. It's not clear who he meant by we. Comes just days after the president had touted a move intended to reduce some of the price pressures on American consumers. His administration ordered the release of 172 million barrels of oil from the U.S. Strategic Reserve. Just a few weeks ago, during a State of the Union address, he had pointed to gas prices as a success story, but since then they have risen significantly. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins me now with more on what's happening in Washington. Julie, good morning. So the Trump administration under pressure to explain what its aims are with the war against Iran and also to justify these impacts on the American people, including the gas prices. We know the president ran on this campaign, ending foreign wars, bringing prices down. So how is he framing all this?
Yeah, Joe, good morning. Not only that, but remember, he repeatedly hit his predecessor, President Joe Biden, over the high gas and oil prices. In part, that happened because of the war that was happening in Ukraine. Now you have a conflict in Iran that was of this administration's own choosing and making, and trying to take this aggressive posture against the regime. It's causing, as you mentioned, those oil and gas prices to completely soar. I spent Wednesday, you showed clips from the president's speech there in Kentucky. I talked to his voters and supporters there. One woman who is a truck driver brought this up on her own. Take a listen to what she told me.
Do you support what the administration is doing in Iran?
Yes and no.
Tell me more about the yes and no.
I support what's going on, but I doesn't like how it's turning out.
In what way?
The gas prices are going up, our food industry is going up, everything is going up, and we can't survive over here.
Look, for the most part, though, they still support what he's doing. But it was interesting to hear the president try to justify what he's doing in Iran. He, of course, has shifting timelines, but certainly months ahead of the midterm elections, especially on his affordability tour, as he's calling it. This is an issue he wants to make sure he's on the right side of.
And to hear someone saying that even at one of his rallies is certainly quite eye-opening. I mean, beyond just the messaging, we know the squeeze on the oil market, the skyrocketing prices, that's causing the administration to reverse course on a major policy when it comes to Russia. Tell us more about what they're saying and why they're temporarily lifting some sanctions on Russian oil.
Yeah, Joe, well, this is all happening because the administration wants to try to ease those prices. In this case, of course, we saw last week the administration, the Treasury Department specifically, temporarily lifting restrictions and sanctions on India to allow that country that is very reliant on Russian oil and gas to temporarily buy those products. That's a sanction that they put in effect a couple of weeks ago to try and stop the Russian government from profiting off oil and gas and therefore funding its continued attack and war in Ukraine. This time overnight, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent writing that this new influx, taking these sanctions further off other nations, allowing them to use and purchase about 124 million barrels of oil that the Treasury Secretary says is already at sea. Bessent saying that this, quote, will not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government, as many countries, not just the U.S., are experiencing the squeeze of these rising oil and gas prices. But certainly this is angering Democrats on Capitol Hill, even some Republicans. Senator Lindsey Graham, as you'll recall, has been pushing legislation to slap even further sanctions on countries that try to buy Russian oil. This is, of course, a step backwards. Democrats, including Senator Brian Schatz, is saying this is essentially the administration fighting Iran and Russia won.
And Julie, speaking of Capitol Hill, while the war in Iran goes on, real quickly, tell us how some lawmakers are trying to put a check on the president's power when it comes to foreign policy.
Well, Republicans are in the majority, and so far most of them have backed the president's foreign interventions. Iran has been the latest, but we've seen war powers resolutions fail as well when it comes to Venezuela, when it comes to other countries. This time, as you see on your screen, Democratic senators, including Senator Tim Kaine, who is behind all of these efforts, are trying to put a check on the president's power on Cuba. Nothing has happened in that country yet, but that's why this is so key. They want to get this vote done before the administration potentially considers any action in Cuba. It's something they've been previewing, especially since the operation in Venezuela, where they took Maduro out. Remember, stopping drug flow is a key priority of this administration. Secretary Marco Rubio has been negotiating with the Cuban government to prevent any kind of operation from taking place from the American side. But certainly, this is something Democrats want to continue to keep in the spotlight, despite their failed efforts previously to try and curtail and rein in some of the administration's power here without Congress's input.
All right, Julie Sirkin, thank you so much. In Arizona, investigators have developed new information in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Today marks 41 days since she was abducted from her home in Tucson. And for the first time, the sheriff says they have an idea of the suspect's motive. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has more.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos giving an update on the search for Nancy Guthrie nearly 6 weeks since her disappearance.
Do you think that this suspect could strike again, whoever did this?
Well, absolutely. We believe we know why he did this, and we believe that it was targeted, but we're not 100% sure of that. And so it'd be silly to tell people, yeah, don't worry about it. You're not his target. Don't think for a minute that because it happened to the Guthrie family, you're safe. No, keep your wits about you.
We pressed Nanos about that potential motive.
There is something that's come out in the investigation that gives you a sense of motive here and why this person did this?
I think it's come out from day one. I think from day one, we had some strong beliefs about what happened, and those beliefs haven't diminished.
Do you believe it was a burglary gone wrong?
I'm not going to get into those theories. We have our beliefs. Everybody else has theirs.
Nanos says he's intentionally withholding their theory and other details in the case, citing the integrity of the investigation. He confirmed investigators have been asking about potential internet issues the night of Nancy's abduction and said they're looking into the possibility a Wi-Fi jammer could have been used or if there was some other electrical disruption that night. The sheriff also says he's still hopeful the DNA found in the home will lead to the suspect. Liz Kreutz, NBC News.
As winter tries to fight off spring, powerful storms are sweeping across much of the country. Emergency shelters are opening in Hawaii, where a powerful Kona storm is hitting the islands. Most of the state is under a high wind advisory until Sunday. Forecasters are calling for sustained winds of 40 miles an hour with gusts of up to 70 miles an hour. Oahu has already seen significant rainfall, which is causing major flooding throughout the island. Back here on the mainland, temperatures are plummeting across the east. Richmond, Virginia was blanketed with several inches of snow after, get this, temperatures dropped nearly 60 degrees in 24 hours. Out west, Washington State is in the middll of a major snowstorm. Snoqualmie Pass, which is east of Seattle, is expected to get up to 4 feet of snow before tomorrow. And in Colorado, wind gusts of up to 80 miles an hour are creating dust storms that are so severe they're reducing visibility down to almost nothing. So with all that in mind, seems like a good time for your morning News Now weather. Angie Lassman joins us with the forecast. Angie, good morning.
It's really hard, Joe, to be a meteorologist with a 50-degree temperature drop from the 80s to the 30s in a matter of a day. And unfortunately, winter is holding on for a lot of folks. Here's what we've got right now. The winter alerts topping 20 million people. And you can see still some snow working across Michigan, stretching into parts of Wisconsin. We've also got a little more of that rain farther to the south. And we unfortunately are going to continue to track this system across parts of the Great Lakes and then eventually New England as the day goes on. So the snow and the wind in the picture, and that means the slick travel as well through the day today. The good news is it's a clipper system, so it's out of here pretty fast. And as we look to tomorrow, still some lingering kind of snow showers the farther north you go into New England, but the chilly winds are here to stay, unfortunately. And those winds are quite impressive in some spots, so much so that we have a whole lot of folks under wind alerts this morning in some of those same regions, and 40, 50 plus mile per hour wind gusts are what we're expecting at least through tomorrow. So still dealing with the gusty conditions and the cold conditions for some. A very different story, though, if you look out towards the southwest, where we have the potential to see a whole lot of records over the next couple of days, triple-digit temperatures in some spots. But let's zoom in on parts of Southern California and Arizona. Phoenix expected to be into the low 90s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We've got the 90s on tap in Los Angeles on Friday, and we really keep that kind of trend going for the extended period. So a bit of a different story depending on where you look. And it's not just Southern California. Notice Denver, 72 degrees today, and a whopping 30 degrees in Bismarck just up the road. We've got 40s for Chicago. That's pretty typical. And it's going to be a mix of this kind of warm and cold highs, even as we get into tomorrow. 90 in Abilene, 30 for Bismarck, 60s for St. Louis. By the time we get into early next week, there's still a chill in the air for some folks across the Northeast and especially across the Northern Plains and the Midwest. Green Bay, only 21 degrees on Monday. Meanwhile, you go from the 70s on Sunday in Evansville to the 30s by Monday. So we really haven't decided what season we're in just yet. We're kind of still in that transitional period. But the good news is we don't have any of those severe storm threats today. So that's me looking on the bright side.
That's good. I'm eyeing Los Angeles, 87 on Sunday for the Oscars.
Yes.
So they'll be sweating on the red carpet probably.
They will, and we'll all be jealous across the East because
Yeah, exactly.
we would like it to be in the 80s.
No kidding. All right, Angie, thank you so much.
You got it.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a growing controversy involving a popular brand of protein bars. What the company's founder told us about allegations of undercounting calories. Up first after the break, new developments in that landmark social media trial as the case goes to the jury. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A landmark social media trial is now heading to the jury after closing arguments wrapped up yesterday in Los Angeles. Tech giants Meta and YouTube are accused of designing their platforms to specifically try and hook young users. The companies deny those allegations. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung has the latest.
Should social media companies pay up for getting young users hooked? That's one of the questions at the center of a first-of-its-kind social media trial wrapping up in Los Angeles, where a jury will have to decide if Meta and YouTube are liable for getting young children and teens addicted to social media and developing mental health issues as a result. Inside court, jurors heard from experts, engineers, and even Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. While outside court, parents who lost children to mental health issues made their appeal.
We want to see accountability. We want to hear the truth. We want to see the truth.
The 20-year-old plaintiff, identified by her initials KGM, is accusing social media companies of hurting children and young teens by deliberately designing their platforms to be more addictive. Both sides making their case in closing arguments.
A closing argument, I'm ready.
The plaintiff's lawyer telling the jury these are Trojan horses. They look wonderful and great, but you invite them in and they take over.
I want the jury to get ready to deliberate, and when they deliberate, I want them to slap those companies crazy.
Both companies pushing back against accusations on the stand last month. YouTube's vice president of engineering testifying that the video platform is not designed to maximize time. In its closing remarks, Meta arguing that the plaintiff had a host of other childhood challenges separate from her social media use. KGM's trial is the first in over 1,600 cases against the social media giants and could set a major legal precedent if the jury sides with her.
We could see settlements with the other plaintiffs, with other people who want to sue. We could also see a forced change of the design features of these apps. And we could also see a major payout here, damages that are significant.
As families closely watching this case say,
the algorithms need to change. But again, I'll say this forever. Until they change their heart, they won't change anything with the companies.
Brian Chung.
All right, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris for more on this case. So the jury heard from the plaintiff, a 20-year-old known as Kaylee or KGM. They also heard from experts, engineers, even Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. So with all that said, what does the jury have to sort out and figure out?
Right. So the core of the issue is, did these platforms, these companies, act negligently when they designed these particular platforms? And did they fail to warn? So those are the two issues that the jury is going to consider when there's negligence: the design of these platforms and failure to warn the public about the dangers. Were those dangers foreseeable? Is it something that they should have known about, knew or should have known? And then there's another element, Joe, and that is causation. Did that negligence, that design defect or failure to warn, actually cause the harm that is alleged in this case?
So YouTube and Meta have really zeroed in on this specific plaintiff. They're arguing she had other challenges in her childhood, complicated relationship with her mother, saying, quote, not one of her therapists identified social media as the cause of her mental health struggles. How strong is that argument, do you think?
This is a really, really central issue to the case, because not only, as we said, do you have to prove that negligence aspect, there has to be causation. And the requirement is that the use of these platforms, and not the content viewed, Joe, that's an important distinction, the actual way that these platforms are designed was a substantial factor in causing the harm. And in this case, it's anxiety, depression, body dysmorphia. Now, we heard a lot of testimony. We heard from medical experts, which say that KGM, the plaintiff in this case, had a turbulent home life, that she sought medical help, that social media was not one of those things that was documented as a cause of her mental health issues. So that's something the defense really focused on. We also have arguments in that same realm of causation. Is this a clinical addiction? And also, was this caused by the actual design defect of the app? Or was this caused by the content that was viewed, which is out of the reach of the jury in order to find that causational link?
We keep calling this landmark, the first of more than 1,600 similar cases against social media companies. Real quick here, how much of a legal precedent could this set?
I mean, this is a really unique case because the big tech has largely been shielded from liability and from actually going before a jury. So these other cases, this is a tester case, one of 20 tester cases, which is going to see how juries react and actually create law. Because remember, Joe, after this, whatever the jury does, there's going to be appeals. And those appeals are going to say whether or not these types of verdicts can be sustainable. And that's really going to open the door for these other cases, or it's going to potentially maybe see some of these cases settle. But this one is really going to pave the way for how the rest of the cases are treated.
A reminder, it won't end with this verdict here.
Right.
All right, Misty, thank you so much. Coming up, travel troubles ahead. Your spring break plans could cost a lot more than you think. We're going to explain why and some ways to save next on Morning News Now. We're back now with some bad news for people who are trying to plan a trip for spring break. If you're going by car, Gas Buddy shows the national average for a gallon of regular unleaded gas now more than $3.60. That is nearly 70 cents more than when the war with Iran started 2 weeks ago. It'll also cost you more to fly. Airfare currently 7% higher than it was the same time last year. The main reason for the increase, more people are flying. Airlines are cutting back on service, so more demand, less supply. The experts at Going say it's unclear right now how big of an impact these rising oil prices are going to have on travel costs as we do head into the summer. Speaking of, Katie Nastro is a travel expert and spokesperson for Going, joins us on set with more. Good to have you with us. So in addition to prices, we have these issues, of course, with the partial government shutdown. Correct. TSA lines are long in some places. Talk about, with these major delays, what advice you have for people who are just right now trying to plan a trip.
Yeah, look, we have spring break, one of the busier time periods amongst the calendar season. So we want people to be aware of the partial shutdown, and there is a likelihood this could impact your security processing time. So my biggest piece of advice is, of course, listen to mom and dad, get to the airport earlier, but take it one step further and just make sure you have that MyTSA app downloaded. It doesn't have real-time updates because of the partial shutdown, but it'll give you some historical data that you can sort of play with and have a better idea or a better sense. Okay, I should avoid this time frame. For example, Sunday mornings, typically you're going to see the busiest time frame. So you want to try to avoid that if you can, or plan earlier. As well as social media is a great tool to be able to see if your airport is trending. And if it's trending, it might not be for the right reason or the wrong reason, so to speak.
Usually not like, oh, it's great.
Exactly, but it'll give you some intel, boots on the ground, so it's very shareable. So that's another good tool to use.
Bigger picture, I know you have some tips, and we just had a graphic up for whether you're driving or whether you're flying. Some tips that people just have in mind right now. What are those?
Yeah, we want people to understand, because of these rising gas prices, that if you are driving, making sure that your car is as fuel efficient as possible. Your tires, they can actually create drag, and that can actually create more fuel burn. So you want to make sure that those are inflated correctly, as well as just making sure you got all your fluids, oil topped up, everything is good to go before you hit the road. As well as we want to make sure that if you are booking a last-minute flight, taking advantage of a spring break arbitrage, thinking about those destinations or airports that don't have the same spring break calendar that your public school does, and taking advantage of that, flying out of a nearby airport. So perfect example, New York. Look to leave from Philly. It's just a short train right away.
Point, yeah,
I've done it myself and can say it doesn't add a ton of time extra, but you will save that way.
Oh, that's a good thing to look at. I got to keep that in mind. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the fun stuff here. When we talk about spring break, what are some of the trends we're seeing for travel?
Yeah, no surprise, Joe. People have been cooped up this winter, so they're looking for a little bit of sun and beach. So we have those trending destinations of, no surprise, the Hawaiian Islands, as well as Miami, always a favorite for spring break, as well as Newport Beach, California, if you're looking for a little bit of sun out west. And then we have nature-inspired getaways. So people are really searching, or there's more search this year versus last year, for places like Boise, Idaho, great access to nature, Kalispell, Montana, as well as Alaska. So, people, we've been cooped up, and we've seen some wacky weather, so we really want to get out there and spend as much time outdoors as possible.
We want space and we want sun. If you are thinking of traveling international right now, clearly there are a lot of concerns with everything that's going on in the world right now. What's some of the advice you have?
Well, our best piece of advice is, if you have any international travel coming up and you're feeling a little bit hesitant, depending upon where you're going, you want to ask yourself this one big question: will I be able to relax and enjoy my vacation amongst everything that's going on? And if the answer is clearly no, then it might be just the time frame to shift gears, maybe look at a different destination, plan that one big international trip for later in the year when things have calmed down, hopefully. So ask yourself that, as well as take advantage of the Foley Foundation resource, that Traveler Safety Guide. It is a great resource with a ton of info. The rule of stupids is in there, which a lot of people can take advantage of. Ask yourself this: don't do anything stupid with stupid people at stupid times of the day, at stupid places, especially at night, which is a little bit of a summary, but it's a great reminder for people to think about.
Reminder, there are no stupid questions. So there you go.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Katie Nastro, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. And stay with us. More Morning News Now after this. We are back with a new class action lawsuit against a popular protein bar brand. The suit alleges that some David protein bars actually contain a lot more calories than the nutrition label indicates. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk has the details.
Wildly popular David protein bars under fire.
What the hell, David bar?
A new class action lawsuit alleging the calories and fat in each bar are way more than what is claimed on the nutrition label.
I'm devastated.
The suit says the bars have roughly 80% more calories and nearly 4 times the fat, like the red velvet flavor.
The label says it has 150 calories and 2.5 grams of fat. According to the lawsuit, independent tests show it actually has 271 calories and 12.31 grams of fat.
Peter Rahal is the founder of David Bar.
Are people getting more calories than they think they're getting from David bars?
So the simple answer is no. It's a frivolous case where they're using the wrong measurement and method to measure calories.
David bars are made with an ingredient that is not actually absorbed by the body.
It's really a special ingredient that allows the food to taste like fat, but doesn't have the caloric impact.
It's called EPG, a modified plant-based oil.
When you eat it and it goes into your body, you don't digest it. Because you don't digest it, you don't absorb the calories from that ingredient.
Rahal says the company complied with FDA regulations when it developed David protein bars, which exploded in popularity through social media. Now Rahal says he's ready to fight for its reputation. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, New York.
Let's bring in NBC News medical reporter Dr. Akshay Sayal with some health tips to navigate this growing protein craze. Doctor, good to have you with us. So let's start with protein bars. There are hundreds of brands on the market right now. Some offer vegan options, some keto, some are full meal replacement. Are protein bars good for you?
Joe, this is such a good question, and a question we get all the time from our patients, looking to add more protein into their diet. And, what we usually say is be careful, right? A lot of these protein bars are really candy bars in disguise. You can see on your screen there, they almost look like you're eating candy bars. It's, a lot of them have loads of sugar, a lot of them have loads of calories. They can have unhealthy fats. So, the answer to your question, Joe, is they can be. You just have to know what to look for. And I would say, for anyone out there who's eating protein bars as maybe a meal replacement or, in addition to their breakfast or lunch or maybe a snack after the gym, just watch out for those added sugars, for that added fat. Some people may want to, be careful about avoiding too many artificial sweeteners as well if you have stomach upset. So, the short answer is there's no magic sort of protein bar that is going to be the best fit for everybody. It's about finding what's best for you, but at the same time watching out for a lot of those processed ingredients that can almost look like candy bars, Joe.
As protein's popularity has exploded on social media, we do see more and more creators just giving sort of blanket nutrition guidance to their followers. Some recommend people should eat 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight. Is that a healthy target? How can people determine just the amount of daily protein they need?
So, Joe, the dietary guidelines, the national dietary guidelines around protein were actually just updated this year. And so, really what we're sort of aiming for now is 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So, for example, if you're about 80 kilograms or about 180 pounds, we're talking about, 100 grams of protein per day. So I would say that's a reasonable target. That was brought up from 0.8 grams per kilogram. So it is an increase that we're seeing recommended by the government. But I think that is a reasonable target to aim for. And most people can get that from healthy foods in their diet, healthy whole foods. But if you need supplements, protein powders are definitely okay to add.
Yeah, and what are, just if you want to get the cleanest protein, what are the best sources?
Yeah, so it depends on what your goals are, right? If your goals are to look like our colleague Stephen Romo, you may need a little bit more help. But for most healthy people out there, you can get most of your protein from your diet. And we have a list of high protein foods here: low-fat Greek yogurt, fish, lean meats like chicken, for example, nuts and seeds, and then peas and lentils as well. I'll just add lentils are a personal favorite of mine, Joe, just because they're not only high in protein, they are high in fiber. A lot of people keep eating protein, and they're forgetting the fiber. Very, very key nutrient to put in your diet.
Real quick, Dr. Sayal, in the story, Stephanie, they mentioned that the modified plant-based oil that your body doesn't absorb the calories. That I think is raises questions to a lot of people. Is that something that's become pretty common?
You know, it has. And so this kind of goes back to my earlier point where, you know, Joe, we want to make sure that we're limiting ultra-processed ingredients or foods that just, you know, for example, are hard to pronounce. So if you're someone out there who's, you know, taking these protein bars, looking to add on muscle, just be cautious or be cognizant of what you're putting in. The more protein you can get from those whole food sources that we just mentioned, ultimately the better. A lot of these ingredients that you hear about can cause stomach upset and bloating and make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. So just be careful about what you're putting in your body, and ultimately, you know, it's going to require a little bit of trial and error to figure out what's best for you.
All right, Dr. Sayal, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Time now for our Money Minute. A fan-favorite digital media company is warning it could be headed for bankruptcy. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch is here with your Money Minute. Emily, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. BuzzFeed, whose trendy listicles really took the internet by storm more than a decade ago, might be in some trouble. The company says it may not have enough resources to meet its cash obligations in the next year without new financing. The company reported just $8.5 million in cash at the end of 2025 and about $680 million in debt. Now, BuzzFeed is exploring new strategic options to improve profitability. Over on Tinder, major new updates to attract younger users. The dating app announced new features, including AI-powered matchmaking, an events tab that will be in beta for Los Angeles users starting in May, and a virtual speed dating pilot also in LA. Parent company Match Group is trying to spark growth after seeing a drop in paying subscribers. And a baseball card featuring New York Yankees slugger Aaron Judge has set a modern-day record. The 2013 autographed card sold privately for $5.2 million at auction. That's according to Fanatics Collect. The sale surpasses the previous modern record held by Mike Trout. That was a card sold in 2020 for just less than $4 million. And now Aaron Judge, he joins the list of legends of Mickey Mantle, Michael Jordan for one of the highest paid prices for a sports card. Joe?
Gosh, I'll have to look through my baseball card. All right, thanks, Emily. Appreciate it. Coming up, they are the high-flying folks who make those big blockbuster films so exciting. Now stunt performers are finally getting some recognition on Hollywood's biggest night.
It just makes our craft more visible. It's literally like playing with my friends. All my friends are action heroes, and getting paid to play.
When we come back, we're going to pull back the curtain on the new category that will soon be introduced at the Oscars. So get your popcorn ready. You're watching Morning News Now. We end this hour with a preview of Hollywood's biggest night of the year. The 98th Academy Awards are taking place this Sunday. This year, some of the nominations for Best Picture, like the F1 movie and One Battle After Another, are just jam-packed with stunts. Now, as of now, there's no award category for stunt design, but soon that is going to change. NBC's Steve Patterson went behind the scenes with one of the industry's top stunt doubles for a rare look at the movie magic.
And coming out of the pits, he's just ahead of his teammates.
This year, it's those high-octane, seat-gripping stunts boosting some of the biggest films in the race for Oscar gold. From the breathtaking Formula One racing scenes in F1 to the rolling car chase in One Battle After Another. And while the stars, filmmakers, and producers certainly have a shot at Oscar glory this Sunday, it's the shadow players in the stunt department critical for success that have been locked out of Academy recognition for all of its nearly 100-year history.
First time ever!
But that's about to change. Starting with movies released next year, the Academy will award an Oscar for achievement in stunt design.
It just makes our craft more visible.
Spotlighting performers like Dee Bryant, a legendary stunt woman with more than 150 credits in films like Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, and TV shows like 911.
It's literally like playing with my friends. All my friends are action heroes, and getting paid to play.
Right there, that's Dee, doubling Kerry Washington in 2025's Shadow Force during this insane boat chase. She's one of the few black women doing stunt work in Hollywood.
I got into the industry back in the 90s, and it was by chance. I didn't aspire to become a stunt woman. It was kind of thrown in my lap. A friend of mine was a second unit director. He saw me riding a motorcycle, and he goes, "There's no one that looks like you that can ride a bike like you." And I thought it was a one-time thing. Then I started getting calls from people like Jada Pinkett Smith's team, Regina King, who I doubled a lot, And I realized that I had a niche. I had a specialty that no one that looked like me had.
Now, Dee is working to elevate and mentor Black women, aspiring stunt performers, hoping to break into a craft long dominated by men.
I want there to be more women like me. I shouldn't be the only one.
You ready, Steve?
We joined Dee at this closed-circuit track where she took me behind the wheel of 500 horses to show me how the work is really done. My mission, since I somehow chose to accept it, nail a 180-degree precision drift, followed by a 90-degree drift into a perfect sideways park job. Easy, right?
Do this.
My first few attempts, not great.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you what you did wrong.
What I did
the
wrong.
steering. You had the lockup and you had it down.
Okay.
Counter steered.
Until finally, that one golden run.
Yes!
That one felt good.
Ooh. Yes, look at that 90. That 90 is perfect.
How'd you get so good at driving? Like, is it just training over and over again? What makes you be able to control the car that well?
I think it's a little bit innate. You know, you just have to have a natural knack that you're born with, and then training on top of that. Because there's some people that take a million classes, and I'm sorry to say, they still can't drive. It's crazy.
I feel like I'm not very innate. I don't know.
What? I don't know. You got better.
In a trade where performers risk life and limb, a little recognition from the Academy goes a long way.
Give us our credit. Give us our flowers.
Greenlighting a slice of the spotlight for performers like Dee is no stunt.
Is this a love for you?
It is. It's a passion for sure.
When are you going to stop? Never?
Never. Drive it until the wheels fall off.
Our thanks to Steve Patterson for that report. I think a few years from now, he might be winning that Oscar for stunt. All right, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but stick with us. The news continues right now. Begin this hour at the latest on the war with Iran. The conflict now approaching the 2-week mark and is showing no signs of slowing down. New this morning, U.S. Central Command confirms a refueling aircraft went down in western Iraq, killing at least 4 of the 6 crew members on board. That brings the total number of U.S. service members killed in this war to 11. Yesterday, Iran's new supreme leader, Mustafa Khamenei, broke his silence days after succeeding his slain father, who was killed in those initial U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran. In a message read by a news anchor on state TV, the new supreme leader said the critical Strait of Hormuz should remain closed. He also said Iran will continue to attack its Middle East neighbors, which host U.S. military bases. President Trump fired back in a Truth Social post overnight, claimed the U.S. is totally destroying the terrorist regime in Iran, and warned his audience to, in his words, watch what happens to them today. We are expecting a briefing from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs of Staff Chair General Dan Kane any moment now, and we will bring that to you live. First, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin, who's in Washington. Julie, what are you watching for? What are you listening for from this morning's Pentagon briefing?
Hey, Joe, good to be with you again. Look, so many things that we are potentially waiting for the defense secretary to reveal, to give us more information on specifically what the goals of this operation are. We've heard from the defense secretary and General Kane several times. Of course, he's the military leader in charge of this operation throughout the last nearly 2 weeks. But their explanations have been slightly shifting in terms of what the outcome they are searching for is. You mentioned the president's Truth Social post. I just want to stick with that quickly because he did say and warned folks to watch what happens to these, quote, deranged scumbags today. I think for many of the Pentagon press in that room, including our own Courtney Kube, they're going to be asking Secretary Hegseth exactly what the president is talking about as these strikes have continued in Iran. Of course, gas and oil prices, something we've been talking about, Joe, might come up in that room as well. The easing temporarily of Russian sanctions on countries that purchase and rely on Russian gas and oil, at least the barrels of oil that that are already at sea. That is going to be a question and a focus as well, potentially, of his remarks, at least a question that he can get here. And also boots on the ground, this question that has been bubbling up on Capitol Hill as well. Even in that room that we talked about earlier that I was in when the president gave remarks in Kentucky, this is something the president campaigned against, something Pete Hegseth, when he was testifying on Capitol Hill to try and get confirmed for this position, also held strong on. He is a veteran himself, so he has experience in this. That is going to be a focus in the room because the president and his team have not ruled out the potential of putting U.S. troops on the ground. They have kept that on the table, and certainly lawmakers on Capitol Hill are going to want to know more information if that becomes a reality as you see that door open and some aides come out into that room.
Yeah, and we expect we'll hear from those Pentagon leaders any moment now. As we wait, I do want to bring in NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren. And Colonel, apologies if I do have to cut you off if the news conference does start, but what are you going to be listening for today?
Well, the first thing we want to hear about, Joe, is, the fate of the two air crew members who have not yet been recovered. Tragically, 4 of our airmen were killed when the KC-135 crashed over friendly skies in Iraq. But there are 2 other crew members we're desperately waiting to hear their fate. Next thing I'm listening very closely for, in the last press conference, Secretary Hegseth mentioned nuclear weapons, that it's one of the objectives. But when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs ticked down the types of targets he's been striking, nuclear capabilities were not mentioned. So I'm interested to see if the United States military or the Israeli military has begun striking nuclear capabilities.
All right, Colonel, let's listen in to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
Good morning. I'll start, as we often do here at the Department of War, with the bottom line up front. For the world to hear and the press to actually admit that the United States is decimating the radical Iranian regime's military in a way the world has never seen before. Never before has a modern, capable military, which Iran used to have, been so quickly destroyed and made combat ineffective, devastated. We said it would not be a fair fight, and it has not been. As I stated during our first press conference on day 2, that was 10 short days ago, the combination of the world's 2 most powerful air forces is unprecedented and unbeatable. Between our Air Force and that of the Israelis, over 15,000 enemy targets have been struck. That's well over 1,000 a day. No other combination of countries in the world can do that. So today, as we speak, we fly over the top of Iran and Tehran. Fighters and bombers all day picking targets as they choose. As our intelligence gets better and better and more refined. Looking up, the IRGC and Iranian regime sees only 2 things on the side of aircraft: the Stars and Stripes and the Star of David. The evil regime's worst nightmare. Iran has no air defenses. Iran has no air force. Iran has no navy. Their missiles, their missile launchers and drones being destroyed or shot out of the sky. Their missile volume is down 90%. Their one-way attack drones yesterday, down 95%. And as the world is seeing, they are exercising sheer desperation in the Straits of Hormuz. Something we're dealing with, we have been dealing with it, and don't need to worry about it. We're on plan to defeat, destroy, disable all of their meaningful military capabilities at a pace the world has never seen before. But it's not just that Iran doesn't have a functioning air force, or that their entire navy is at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, or their missile force is shrinking daily. Even more importantly, they also don't have the ability to build more. That's the most important component I'd like to emphasize today. Soon and very soon, all of Iran's defense companies will be destroyed. For example, as of 2 days ago, Iran's entire ballistic missile production capacity, every company that builds every component of those missiles, has been functionally defeated, destroyed. Buildings, complexes, and factory lines all across Iran destroyed. So we're shooting down and destroying what missiles they still have in stock, but more importantly, ensuring that they have no ability to make more. Their production lines, their military plants, their defense innovation centers defeated. Iran's leadership is in no better shape. Desperate and hiding, they've gone underground, cowering. That's what rats do. We know the new so-called not-so-supreme leader is wounded and likely disfigured. He put out a statement yesterday, a weak one, actually, but there was no voice and there was no video. It was a written statement. He called for unity. Apparently killing tens of thousands of protesters is his kind of unity. Iran has plenty of cameras and plenty of voice recorders. Why a written statement? I think you know why. His father, dead. He's scared, he's injured, he's on the run, and he lacks legitimacy. It's a mess for them. Who's in charge? Iran may not even know. With every passing hour, we know, and we know they know, that the military capabilities of their evil regime are crumbling. They can barely communicate, let alone coordinate. They're confused, and we know it. Our response? We will keep pressing. We will keep pushing, keep advancing. No quarter, no mercy for our enemies. Yet some in this crew, in the press, just can't stop. Allow me to make a few suggestions. People look up at the TV and they see banners, they see headlines. I used to be in that business, and I know that everything is written intentionally. For example, a banner or a headline, Mideast war intensifies, splashing on the screen the last couple of days, alongside visuals of civilian or energy targets that Iran has hit, because that's what they do. What should the banner read instead? How about Iran increasingly desperate? Because they are. They know it, and so do you, if it can be admitted. Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage. CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better. Another example of a fake headline that I saw yesterday, war widening. Here's a real headline for you for an actual patriotic press. How about Iran shrinking, going underground? You see, Iran's leaders are hiding in bunkers and moving into civilian areas. The only thing that is widening is our advantage. Not to mention our Gulf partners stepping up even more, now going on the offense, and have always been with us on the defense with collective and integrated air defenses. Our will, it is unshakable. Our options, maximized, and our capabilities still building. We're going up, they're going down. As I said from the start, President Trump holds the cards. He'll determine the pace, the tempo, and the timing of this conflict. His hand firmly on the wheel, as well as on the throttle setting. America first, peace through strength, in action. From day one, as our nation expects and the President demands, our warriors have fought with lethality, precision, and rapid innovation. In fact, today will be, yet again, the highest volume of strikes that America has put over the skies of Iran and Tehran. The number of sorties and number of bomber pulses, the highest yet, ramping up and only up. And quantity has a quality of its own as we continue to ramp up. Every tool of AI, of cyber, of space, EW, counter-UAS, you name it, we're employing it. Blinding, confusing, and deceiving our enemy. Because we know who the good guys are here. And the American people do too. And that makes my job simple. I serve God, the troops, the country, the Constitution, and the President of the United States, and answer only to those. All in service of victory on the battlefield and the military objectives that we've laid out from day one. Defeat the missiles, missile launchers, and defense industrial base, which I laid out today. Defeat the Navy and deny Iran the ability to have a nuclear weapon. Clear, decisive, achievable. And Admiral Cooper knows, the CENTCOM commander who we spent a couple of hours with last night, that in pursuit of those objectives, we have his back in every way. His commanders know that, and so do the troops in harm's way. Admiral Cooper gets what he needs, the assets, the authorities, the munitions, you name it. We will stop at nothing to win. War is hell. War is chaos. And as we saw yesterday with the tragic crash of our KC-135 tanker, bad things can happen. American heroes, all of them. And as I have with all of them, as we have, we will greet those heroes at Dover, and their sacrifice will only recommit us to the resolve of this mission. But war in this context and in pursuit of peace is necessary, which is why each day on bended knee we continue to appeal to heaven, to Almighty God's providence, to watch over and give special skill and confidence to our leaders and to our warriors. To those warriors who this nation prays for every single day, I hear from all of you out there who pray for them every day. Stay on bended knee and pray for them. I continue to say to them, Godspeed. May the Lord bless you and keep keep going. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us today. Before I start with an update, I also want to address the tragic loss of our KC-135 refueling aircraft yesterday. The incident occurred over friendly territory in western Iraq while the crew was on a combat mission, and again was not the result, as CENTCOM has said, was not the result of hostile or friendly fire. We're still treating this as an active rescue and recovery operation. As CENTCOM announced this morning, 4 airmen have been recovered, and the Air Force and U.S. Central Command will provide updates as information becomes available. Please keep these brave airmen, their families, friends, and units in your thoughts in the coming hours and days. Our service members make an incredible sacrifice to go forward and do the things that the nation asks of them. It's a reminder of the true cost of the dedication and commitment of the Joint Force. We're also aware of a fire on board the USS Gerald R. Ford. We're thinking about the crew there who are injured in the fire. We believe and hope that everyone will be okay, and we're grateful for that. And for any further questions on that, we'd refer you to NAVCENT or to the Navy. This morning, we enter the 13th day of Operation Epic Fury, and we continue to make progress towards our military objectives. As the Secretary said, today will be our heaviest day of kinetic fires across the operating area. CENTCOM continues to attack ballistic missile and drone capabilities so that they are no longer a threat to U.S. forces, our bases, or our partners. They're continuing to destroy the Iranian Navy to ensure freedom of navigation, and this means going after Iran's mine-laying capability and destroying their ability to attack commercial vessels. And we're targeting their defense industrial base so they cannot rebuild the capabilities that can harm America's interests or our partners in the future. As Admiral Cooper said in his update on Wednesday, Iranian combat power continues to decline as a result of the continued strikes, as the Secretary talked about. We've attacked over 6,000 targets, and our strike packages continue to launch every hour, and we've maintained an unprecedented number of sorties up overhead of Iran. CENTCOM is now persistently over the enemy, and a result, we've seen a reduction in missile and one-way attack fires, as the Secretary said. In less than 2 weeks, we've rendered the Iranian Navy combat ineffective and continue to attack naval vessels, including all of their Soleimani-class warships, which were armed with anti-ship missiles and anti-aircraft weapons. We've made progress, but Iran still has the capability to harm friendly forces and commercial shipping, and our work on this effort continues. But I want to make something clear. The only thing preventing commercial traffic and flow through the Straits right now, which there is some through the Straits, is Iran. They are the belligerents here holding the Straits closed, although there is some traffic moving through there. We've made it a priority to target Iran's mine-laying enterprise, their mine layers, the naval bases and depots, in addition to the missiles that could influence the Straits, and CENTCOM continues to attack those efforts. And we continue to make progress on the industrial base to include factories, weapons, weapons warehouses that are stored in, and we will continue to do so in the coming days, especially today. Now, as I often do, I want to share a little bit about our incredible joint force. Today, I'm going to talk about our incredible artillery force comprised of American soldiers and Marines who've been sinking ships, destroying depots, and launching Army tactical missile systems, or ATACMS, precision strike missiles, or PrSMs, and high-mobility rocket systems, or HIMARS. From outside Iran, our Army and Marine artillerymen are hitting sites that Iran relies on to project power beyond their borders and protect our deployed. In just the first 13 days of this operation, our artillery forces have made history. They fired the first precision strike missiles ever used in combat, reaching deep into enemy territory. They've used Army ATACMS to sink multiple ships, including a submarine, and they've done all of this with the precision and determination that comes from relentless training and trust in each other and in their weapon systems. Yesterday, I had the incredible honor and privilege of speaking with some of our young soldiers from the 3rd Battalion, 27th Field Artillery Regiment out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the unit and the crew that fired the first precision strike missiles. The soldiers I met came from all over this great country: New York, Texas, Delaware, California. One had been in the Army only 6 months and been in the unit for 2 months and was already deployed. He was the youngest at 20, but you would not know it from the way that they talked about their mission. The others were 22 and 28 years old. They spoke with the sense of calm pride, purpose, and clarity that tells you clearly they understand the weight of what they're doing and the people who depend on them. I asked them to walk me through a fire mission. I asked not just what they do, but what they feel, especially those first crew members on this particular mission. These soldiers basically live in these vehicles behind us. The cab, very tight, 2 folks sit next to each other with the crew commander behind them. It's jammed inside there with their personal weapons and kit, and they sit and wait for a fire mission. And when that fire mission comes, they close the armored doors and begin to program the systems. They then throw 3 simple toggle switches, and 10 to 15 feet behind them, a rocket motor ignites, and the round is headed downrange to do the nation's work. I asked these youngsters, these young, awesome Americans, what does that feel like? And one of them just looked at me and said, "It's awesome." No drama, no hesitation, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the night, in the sun, the rain, in the snow, flawless execution. Their Marine counterparts are out there doing the same thing every night. Same work, same pressure, same expectations, same results. And we hand tremendous and enormous responsibility to these young Americans, and they carry it with a level of maturity, grit, professionalism, and tenacity that makes me incredibly proud to be a part of their joint force. Their parents and families would and should be incredibly proud. And their leaders and I trust them to do the deeds that they must do in difficult circumstances every single time. I also want to touch today I want to touch for a moment today on their leadership. These young Americans are led by extraordinary young leaders out at the tactical edge. Yesterday, the battery commander and her NCO were there with this crew on the same video screen. The 2 of them hardly said a word. They didn't have to. In their eyes, and in particular the commander's eyes, you could see the quiet trust and confidence she had in these soldiers and the rest of their battery. It came through loud and clear, and we appreciate their leadership. When I asked these soldiers yesterday, what is it that you need from the Secretary and I, they looked at each other, paused for a moment, and looked back at me and said, "More rounds, sir." It was awesome. So thank you to those soldiers and Marines out on the firing line supporting our mission, and thank you to their families. Our joint force will continue today to deliver dynamic fires against the enemy from the land, sea, and air. We remain deeply grateful for their service, and for the 3rd time today, I'll mention that today will be our busiest day. This mission remains complex, dangerous, and difficult, and every service member has a family waiting for them to return home. And I want to thank all of the families today who are supporting their deployed forces and those doing the work here in the States. On a personal note today, I also want to thank the Joint Staff and the team that I have the pleasure of working with, some of them right here in this room. They are working 24 hours a day to deliver the options that we must to the Secretary and to the President. Today, as I close, I ask that we remember our fallen and those participating in the recovery operations to bring home our lost KC-135 crew, that we keep those service members and their families in their thoughts and prayers. Those are very, very, very tough days when that knock comes on the door for people on both sides of the door. Again, thank you to our deployed, thank you to our fallen, and to their families, and to the Joint Force. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, sir.
Mr. Chairman. Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Strait of Hormuz and when it might be fully operational again? And how do we ensure our objective of denying Iran a nuclear weapon if they continue to align with our adversaries?
So I'll take it and chime in, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like it all. I want to emphasize what the chairman said about that. The only thing prohibiting transit in the Straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is open for transit should Iran not do that. Now, there's a reason why we chose as one of our primary objectives destroy the Navy. We understood the ability to interdict shipping is something Iran has done for 40 years. It's key terrain. They've used it as leverage. The world is seeing what they'll do to fight back in that context. And so we've heard them talk about taking various measures, and we're planning for all of them. So we have a plan for every option here. We're working with our interagency partners, and that's not a strait we're going to allow to remain contested or with a lack of flow of commercial goods. So we're aware of that. We're laser focused on our military objectives, but also want to make sure our partners across this government understand we're working with you to make sure that energy flows. And that's an important part. And the second question was on the nuclear capability. As we've said from the beginning, their strategy shifted just from defense of their nuclear facilities to a conventional umbrella of so many missiles that no one would challenge their ability to the opportunity to defeat their nuclear capabilities. And it was growing by the day. So with Iran at its weakest moment, going at that ballistic missile capability creates an opportunity to ensure at any point in time that Iran give up their nuclear capabilities, or if need be, you prevent them from doing it, as the president has done once already with Operation Midnight Hammer, obliterating those capabilities. So the conventional side is a huge part at getting at denying nuclear capabilities, if you have anything you want to add.
Appreciate the question. I'm not going to comment on what we may or may not be thinking about any options that the Joint Force could be tasked to do in the future, whether it's on the nuke matter or anything else. Thank you.
But we have options.
Of the mines that are in the Strait of Hormuz and our ability to, obliterate them?
We retain a range of options to solve a whole variety of problems, and that is one set of options that we have, that we hold on to. So, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Mary Margaret with Daily Wire. Thank you both for the update. ABC News has updated its story from yesterday, clarifying that the FBI report on Iran possibly striking California was unverified. I just want to ask you, what impact did that original reporting have on the public, and does Iran even have the ability to conduct such a strike? And then just really quickly on another note, what role did Vice President Vance play in counseling the president on this conflict? Can you speak to some of the media reporting suggesting that there is a division there?
That reporting on California obviously had no impact on us. Also, we're used to bad reporting. We're used to ill-informed reporting. And so it doesn't change how we operate, but we engage with it to prove that it's not true, as CENTCOM has done so well. Ultimately, I look at the reports on a daily basis of our interagencies all over it. My partners across government are all over, looking for indications and warnings, keeping the American people safe. There's a lot of things Iran has said it can do for a long time, thankfully, including engaging their proxies and getting them involved in the fight, which they haven't been able to do. So we're watching that very closely. And as far as the vice president, He's an incredible member, leader of this team as well, alongside the President and the Secretary of State. I can't say enough great stuff about this team, how it works together, how it provides options to the President and the Vice President every single day is a key voice in that, an indispensable voice in that, actually. In the middle there, red tie. Yes.
Michael Gordon, Wall Street Journal. Iran is thought to have 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium in at least 2 locations and several thousand kilograms of lower purity material. Can you conclude this mission successfully without physically taking control of that material, or are you counting on diplomatic negotiations to provide some measure of control leading to its removal? You've mentioned missiles, you've mentioned drones, military industry. You haven't stipulated that taking care of that material is a mission priority.
We've said from the beginning, deny Iran nuclear weapons as a core mission. We retain options across the spectrum to ensure that they never do. And President Trump has said that. And that's why this mission actually couldn't have been possible without Midnight Hammer. Without what those B-2s did going across and obliterating those facilities, that set the condition for the opportunity to do what we're doing now. So the President's kept his eye focused on nuclear capabilities. And I will say we have a range of options, up to and including Iran deciding that they will give those up, which of course we would welcome. They weren't willing to do in negotiations. I would never tell this group or the world what we're willing to do or how far we're willing to go, but we have options for sure. Right next to him.
Me?
No, right there.
Right here, sir? Right here? I'll take it for sure.
Zip right there, yep. No, you, yep.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can you please provide some guidance? It's been 13 days in. Can you please provide some guidance, both of you, about the strike on the girls' school? There has been reporting that indicates that preliminary inquiry, even though it's ongoing, has determined that the airstrike was carried out by the United States. Given that there is another competing narrative that this was done intentionally, can you provide us with some guidance about whether this was the case? Secondly, we are also getting, we had heard yesterday from Energy Secretary Wright that said that the U.S. Navy would not be ready until the end of the month to provide escorts through the Strait of Hormuz. Is that an accurate assessment? And if so, can you tell us why? Thank you.
Well, with an issue on your first topic, an issue of such seriousness, we're not going to let reporting lead us or force our hand into indicating what happened in a particular situation, because the truth matters. So I can report that CENTCOM has designated an investigating officer to complete a command investigation. The command investigation will take as long as necessary to address all the matters surrounding this incident. And the investigating officer is from outside CENTCOM and is a general officer. But I will note to this group and to the world, there's only one entity in this conflict between us and Iran that never targets civilians. Literally never targets civilians. I look at the process that's used on dynamic strikes or on boat strikes and others. We have a very high fidelity process in that case. So we don't target. Iran does. We will investigate, and we'll get to the truth, and we'll share it when we have it. Absolutely. And what was the second
question? About the Strait of Hormuz, about the Navy.
It's a tactically complex environment, and before I think we want to take anything through there at scale, we want to make sure that we do the work pursuant to our current military objectives to do that safely and smartly. So we're continuing to develop.
And we do a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like I said, it is dynamic, but this is, I think, almost by 20% the largest day of strikes. And as I said, our intelligence just gets better and better. That feedback loop feeds itself. And as we refine those targets, it exponentially increases what we can hit and why, to include strategic things the world's talking about and looking at. And it's our job to have a plan for it, which we do, to address it, and ensure that the president has options. We've done that from the beginning in this department. He'll have options on that topic as well. Right here.
United States, that's right, sir.
An investigation is an investigation. That's what it is. It doesn't mean anything other than that. Yes.
Ryan Morgan with the Epic Times. Regarding today's busy day of strikes, last week you guys discussed the progress of the air campaign to gain air superiority and to transition from these standoff weapons launched at range to more overhead strikes. Can you now say that these strikes today are going to rely entirely on stand-in, over-the-top weapons, or are standoff range weapons still in play?
It's a great question. I can say, based on the report I read this morning at 0600, only 1% of the munitions we're using today are standoff munitions. The rest are over-the-top, the types of which we have a plethora, which was our goal from the beginning. You use standoff, which are more exquisite. You transition to a much larger magazine depth, ensuring that you're preserving all the capabilities you have and your options across the force. Absolutely.
Has Iran placed any mines since the war started? Is Iran placing new mines?
We've heard them talk about it, just like you've reported recklessly and wildly about it. But we have no clear evidence. We have no clear evidence of that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Secretary, given everything the U.S. have accomplished in the last 24 hours, as of today, how do you define success?
All right, another update right now from Pentagon leaders, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, who say today we'll have the highest volume of strikes yet on Iran. They're also remembering and paying tribute to the latest fallen service members after a refueling aircraft went down in Iraq, with 4 of 6 crew members on board now confirmed dead. The general noting it was not the result of hostile or friendly fire. The secretary saying that bad things can happen and that all of them are American heroes. Let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin, NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren. Good morning to both of you. I mean, Julie, I think Secretary Hegseth is going to make headlines with his comments talking about the Strait of Hormuz, which is closed, impacting 1/5 of the world's oil supply. He says it's something we're dealing with and, quote, you don't need to worry about it. Also noteworthy is comments about Iran's supreme leader, who released that statement yesterday but didn't appear on camera. What are the main headlines here this morning?
Yeah, I'll start with where you left off, Joe, where he said that the supreme leader is, quote, wounded and likely disfigured. That is, of course, notable because the son of the former supreme leader that, of course, the U.S. had taken out in these strikes had made his first comments yesterday, but he did not appear on camera. Instead, they were read by an Iranian news anchor. I also thought other things he said. Let's stick with the Strait for a second. He said the only thing blocking the Strait of Hormuz, again, that's that critical waterway that allows energy to travel to different countries who rely on it. Of course, Iranian oil at the pinnacle of this. Hegseth said that the only thing blocking that strait is Iran, quote, shooting. He said that they are planning for every option. He and the general, Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, did not want to kind of express in detail all of those options, specifically when it comes to hamstringing Iran's nuclear program. That was a goal, of course, at the beginning of this operation. Hegseth saying that they're used to bad reporting. He likes to hit on the media, so this is, of course, nothing new. And then our own Courtney Kuby asking a critical question of Hegseth, asking if Iran is placing new mines in that strait. He said there is no clear evidence to suggest that. Also pressed on the strikes that the U.S. Likely were responsible for in targeting that school in Iran. Hegseth saying that there is still somebody investigating that.
Colonel Warren, let's bring you in here. What have you heard in the news conference so far? What stands out to you?
Right. Several things stand out. Number one, that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs indicated that the Iranian Navy is now combat ineffective. That doesn't mean every ship has been sunk, but it means that they cannot carry out actual missions anymore. They are still a threat. The other thing that the chairman pointed out that I thought was very important is when he talked about the straits as a tactically complex environment. So he definitely let us know that there is still risk there and that we still have to, focus on how to reduce that risk and uncomplicate that tactical situation.
Yeah, Colonel, I mean, did we learn much more about what the possible strategy will be there, what the U.S. military could do? Remind us how complicated, how tactically complex it would be to try and accompany these oil carriers out of that region through the strait.
There's a lot to do there, right? We have to create air cover so that no missiles can come in or no enemy aircraft or anything from the air can threaten. We have to create surface protection so that no fast boats, speed boats, or mines can impact. And then we also have to worry about other assorted problems such as drones, et cetera. So it's a complicated environment. It needs more work.
Colonel Steve Warren, Julie Sirkin, thank you both. And stay with us. Morning News Now. We'll be right back. Back now at the future of delivery with driverless freight trucks hauling consumer goods from warehouses to stores. Companies say these autonomous trucks are safer and more cost-effective, resulting in savings for you. So NBC News Chief Consumer Investigative Correspondent Vicki Nguyen got an exclusive ride on one to see how it works.
Hey there, I rode in the cab of a 12-ton freight truck without anyone at the wheel. The company behind this technology says it is ready for prime time, and the trucks already have driven thousands of miles, delivering goods for major retailers. But are they safe? And what does this mean for human truck drivers? Here's our first look from inside. It looks like any other truck until you peek inside. No one at the wheel as it barrels down the road. Massive freight trucks designed to drive all on their own.
We're talking about trucks that do not have any drivers doing operations on a daily basis across the nation.
Gautam Narang is CEO of Gatik, the first company to employ driverless freight trucks on U.S. public roads with no human safety driver in the cab. They're already hauling freight for major grocery chains and retailers in Texas, Arkansas, and Arizona. The goal? To increase deliveries and lower costs.
You and I, as end consumers, we want our orders as soon as possible, as cheap as possible. So our trucks are working day and night.
You say these trucks make things cheaper and faster, but for someone driving in a car to look up and see a big truck like this with no one behind the wheel, how is that safe?
Safety is foundational to everything that we do at Gatik.
We first showed you the technology in 2021. I'm here in Arkansas for an exclusive look when the company deployed smaller self-driving trucks for Walmart, capable of driving up to 10 miles per route. Now, Gatik's trucks travel up to 400 miles, handling middle-mile deliveries between warehouses and stores completely autonomously. To see for ourselves, we got an exclusive ride-along with Apeksha Kamavat, Gatik's co-founder and chief engineer. Here we go. She says high-tech cameras and sensors give the truck a 360-degree view of its surroundings, guiding it safely through any situation on the road, day or night, rain or shine.
The truck sees all of that information in real time, creates an understanding of what the world looks like right now, how it will evolve.
I watched as the truck navigated highways and heavy traffic. Whoa, I gotta say, that was a pretty sudden stop. It's driving a bit jerky, but Kamavat says it's designed for safety, not comfort. So if someone had run that red light, we would have been even though we had a green light, this truck would know not to go?
Exactly.
After millions of testing miles, Gatik says its trucks haven't had a single safety incident, something we confirmed with federal and state regulators. With 10 trucks now on the road and several hundred expected by year's end, the company says it's secured $600 million in contracts. What about the very real concerns that this is taking away jobs from human truck drivers?
The reality is that in the U.S. today, there is extreme driver shortage. What we're helping our customers with is we're helping them move goods across networks and routes that are hard to staff.
But the country's largest truck driver union disagrees.
These autonomous vehicle companies are investing billions of dollars to replace drivers so they can lower labor costs to increase the corporate profits.
The union also questions Gatik's safety record, given that regulators rely on companies to self-report any incidents.
The corporations that want to implement this technology, they consistently hide data from the public.
Gatik strongly denies that and says building the safest, most reliable trucks is in its best interest. Are these driverless trucks better than trucks that are driven by humans?
Absolutely. When it comes to safety, our system on board never gets distracted, is always paying attention, and is always designed to have very predictable behavior throughout.
Gatik says that human engineers are not constantly monitoring the trucks while they're on the road, but they can take control remotely from their command center when there is an emergency, like if the truck breaks down or it's involved in a crash or gets stuck with a flat tire. Right now, 28 states allow driverless trucks on the road. Gatik is one of several companies developing them. Back to you.
All right, Vicki, thank you so much. Let's take a look at the latest financial headlines. Avid Amazon shoppers may need to mark a new date on their calendars for Amazon Prime Day this summer. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch is here with your Money Minute. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning, Joe. According to Bloomberg, Amazon is shifting its biggest shopping event to a bit earlier in the year, moving Prime Day from July to late June. The event, which launched in 2015 to attract new Prime subscribers, has grown into a major driver of online spending across the retail industry. In fact, competitors like Walmart and Target now often run their own sales at the same time to compete for shoppers. Amazon has declined to comment. And another online platform is pushing further into video. Substack has announced a new built-in tool called Substack Recording Studio that lets creators record and publish videos directly on the platform. The feature, which is currently only available on desktop, supports solo recordings or conversations with guests and automatically generates clips and thumbnails. And the OG GLP-1 maker Novo Nordisk has been facing hit after hit recently. Shares of the company fell nearly 50% last year, marking its worst year on record. Novo facing pricing challenges in the U.S. and also growing competition. But with Novo launching its new weight loss pill earlier this year, will it be enough to reinvigorate the company? Take a listen.
Hello, I'm Ozempic.
GLP-1s are everywhere.
Microdose GLP-1s.
From ripping through Hollywood,
I'm on road,
to Super Bowl commercials. Many have called the drugs a medical miracle.
It is, in fact, a miracle.
In hopes of finally making progress in America's obesity crisis. And today, adding to the mounting evidence that these drugs could have benefits besides weight loss, a new study finding a 37% lower risk of death in patients with metastatic brain cancer. But the economic miracle that once seemed a sure bet, now very much in question. Novo Nordisk, the Danish company that kicked off the craze with Ozempic, had a market value larger than Denmark's whole economy just 2 years ago. But since then, the stock's shedding more than 70%. The CEO recently telling CNBC it might get worse before it gets better.
People should expect that it goes down before it comes back up.
Why? Well, some experts say a combination of competition and some negative headlines. Novo Nordisk going after companies like Hims and Hers for what it called mass illegal compounding after the copycats were being sold for a fraction of the cost of its own blockbuster drug, Wegovy. But just this week, the company is coming to a deal, with Hims agreeing to sell Novo's products instead, sending Hims stock surging, Novo getting just a little bump. There was also an FDA warning letter to the company citing serious violations for failing to report potential side effects linked to semaglutide, the active ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy. The company responding Tuesday saying the warning letter, quote, largely seeks additional details on regulatory compliance. It does not make any conclusions about the quality or safety of our medicines. Not every GLP-1 maker is feeling the squeeze. American competitor Eli Lilly stock still only about 12% off its all-time high from a few months ago.
Eli Lilly's new oral drug for treating type 2 diabetes performed better than Novo Nordisk, and also price competition. We've seen prices continue to come down for GLP-1 treatments.
More than 10% of Americans say they're using the drugs for weight loss or other chronic conditions, according to one survey, and they continue to make a massive cultural impact, shaking up menus, with many restaurant chains offering smaller portion sizes and packing in protein, something prioritized by many taking the drugs. The latest, Buffalo Wild Wings rolling out an espresso protini this weekend. So as the world shifts its business to GLP-1s, it's still unclear whether the OG drug maker Novo Nordisk can capitalize on the popularity.
Now, between the two companies, as of right now, only Novo has a GLP-1 available in pill form for weight loss. It's cheaper than the shot. The Wegovy pill starts at $149 per month for people paying in cash. That's compared to the injection price that's $349 per month, Joe. But now all eyes are going to be in the next couple of months because Eli Lilly is expected to launch its rival weight loss pill. It is, though, pending FDA approval.
Competitive field there. All right, Emily, thank you so much. Speaking of competition, this Sunday, Hollywood will honor its best and brightest at the Academy Awards. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas has a look at what you can expect from the big show. Good morning, Chloe.
Hey there. After a heated award season, it all comes down to this, the 98th Academy Awards, and there's already been plenty of buzz surrounding this year's show with talks of long-awaited reunions and hotly contested races. So you can be sure that the Oscars are going to bring the drama.
Yes, that's what I'm going with.
Ahead of Hollywood's biggest night,
Nice.
second-time Oscars host Conan O'Brien rolling out the red carpet as the stars of the silver screen go for gold. While many details are still under wraps, expect a live musical performance from Huntrix, the group from the animated smash hit K-pop Demon Hunters. And for a comedic punch,
I'm ready.
to party. The cast of Bridesmaids, including Oscar nominee Rose Byrne, is set to join the party for a reunion 15 years in the making. It comes as the Oscars race is neck and neck.
These ain't hates. They're vampires.
Vampire thriller Sinners enters the night with a record-breaking 16 nominations, including Best Picture.
This is a declaration of war.
But it will have to battle it out with one battle after another, which has taken home most of the Best Picture prizes this year.
Thank you, Sensei.
In the Best Actor race, Michael B. Jordan could snag his first Oscar.
You twins? Nah, we cousins.
If he can beat out Timothée Chalamet, who is up for his role as a fast-talking hustler in Marty Supreme.
Yeah, that's called cheating.
But the young star closed out his Oscars campaign with controversy.
I don't want to be working in ballet or opera. No one cares about this anymore. All respect to the ballet and opera people out there.
Those comments going viral and dragged by the opera and ballet worlds.
What do you wish to do, Hamlet?
In the star-studded Best Actress category, Jessie Buckley is favored for her role as William Shakespeare's wife in Hamnet. But the A-listers guaranteed to be on stage include Nicole Kidman, Robert Downey Jr., and Anne Hathaway, all selected to open envelopes as presenters. The show will also feature an emotional in memoriam, honoring Rob and Michelle Reiner, Diane Keaton, Catherine O'Hara, Robert Redford, and more, as Hollywood remembers the stars it has lost this year.
This is definitely going to be an emotional night all around. The producers of the show have not exactly said what they're planning for the In Memoriam segment, but they say that they've put a lot of time and thought into creating something meaningful that has a lot of heart. Back to you.
All right, Chloe, thank you. Coming up, you might not be walking the red carpet at the Oscars, but there's plenty more in entertainment to look forward to this weekend. From the big screen to streaming at home, we're going to take a look at some of the freshest new films and shows out of Hollywood and beyond, all coming up in your weekly Can't Miss list. Finally this Friday, time for your weekly Can't Miss list to look at all the movies and shows that you need to see this weekend. And joining us this week, entertainment journalist, pop culture expert, friend of the show, Brian Balthazar. Good to have you with us. So we should start in the theater. After all, it is Oscar weekend. So we have a movie. It's called Reminders of Him. This is the third major film based off a novel by Colleen Hoover. What's it about? I'm guessing we should bring Kleenex?
Well, yes, it is. A woman does something that many around her would find unforgivable. She does go to prison for it, and after her prison time, comes back to rebuild her life. And it is kind of a story of one, redemption, forgiveness, and can you forgive? Are you identified by the worst thing that happened in your life? So it's kind of a deep emotional journey.
All right. I like a deep emotional journey. Yeah. All right. If the bad weather has us staying in this weekend, there are several options. Let's start with Rooster. This is a limited series. It stars Steve Carell. I've seen the ads. I'm intrigued, but what exactly is it about?
Okay, so he plays an author, and the central character in his books is kind of strong and assertive, and people tend to think of him that way, but that's not quite the case, as you might imagine from Steve Carell. He becomes a teacher in residence at a school. He's rebuilding his life because his marriage has collapsed. This happens to be where his adult daughter lives. And by the way, if you love Ted Lasso, if you love Shrinking, one of the co-producers that created both of those shows, so you know it's going to have all the feels, you know, laughter and melancholy and all those things. So I think this is worth checking out.
Okay, and Shrinking is like my favorite show on television right now. So if it's anything like that, I'm guessing that his relationship with his daughter might have troubles.
Just a little ups and downs. Who would have thought?
Imagine that. I feel like that would drive the plot. Yeah. All right, now let's get to American Classic. This is about an aging Broadway actor who's played by Kevin Kline. He returns to his small town. You got Laura Linney, also John Tenney. He actually recently spoke to us about what attracted him to the show. Here's what he said.
Uncynical story at a time in the world that can be very discordant right now, that not only celebrates art and the theater, but celebrates the idea of what it takes to come together as a community.
So tell us more. What is this story about?
Okay, so Kevin Kline is a self-absorbed Broadway star. Okay. There's a moment that leads him to go back home, right? Okay. And of course, you're seeing a lot of family regrowing, rebirth, redemption kind of stories here. And so he, through circumstances I will leave you to watch and find out, decides he's going to reinvigorate this town by restoring and bringing back to life the local theater, which is now a dinner theater.
Oh,
so yeah, right. So the ego is going to be put into check. And you get the classic family moments because his daughter is in this story. Great chemistry with Laura Linney. And of course, then when you are bringing a show back, you're going to get the the hilarious audition scenes, the local theater actor, so you're gonna have those comedic moments. I'm told it's very witty more than it is hilarious, but it's a love letter to the theater because look at that cast, a lot of Broadway regulars.
That is amazing. I'm thinking of Waiting for Guffman. I have no idea if there's anything like Waiting for Guffman.
It's not quite that extremely
it's not quite
quirky,
there. Okay.
but it's a little bit more charming and realistic than Waiting for Guffman.
All right, good to know. All right, The Madison is premiering Saturday. This is Taylor Sheridan, who's doing quite well for himself right now. And he keeps just like bringing in big names to star. Michelle Pfeiffer, Kurt Russell. What's the storyline? Okay,
so a New York family is befallen by a tragedy. Michelle Pfeiffer is the matriarch of this family. They decide to move from New York to Madison, although it does intercut between New York and Montana. And so an emotional journey here, again, about recovery and family and growth and love. This, among these Yellowstone series, is a little bit more of a deep emotional journey compared to the others. The others have a little bit more intensity, but this one's a little bit more of a deeper emotional story.
Got it. And there's no better advertisement for the American West than a Taylor
Right. I mean, seriously, I'm sure he just bought another boat, another ranch.
All right. Finally, let's do something a little bit quirky here. Sunny Nights. Two siblings from America. They want to open a spray tan salon in Australia. But, as happens, they get sucked into a life of crime.
Right. I love the banner. An attempt to open a spray tan business. We go to Australia, Will Forte there. It's called kooky and violence. Those two things that go great together.
Yes, they do.
This actually was shot in Australia and premiered there actually a few months ago. It's now coming to the States. Obviously, they get caught up in some crime. There and it's messy, but it's just violent and kooky. That's all I could say. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. Spray tans are kooky and violent,
they can be.
Might as well be.
I've learned the hard way.
We have 30 seconds left here. Are you pushing for anyone for the Oscars this weekend? Like, do you have a favorite film?
I'm excited by Jessie Buckley. I'm interested also, obviously, Best Actor, but I think that was largely obviously decided before the scandal.
Well, no, it's getting close now, though.
It was close before the scandal. Like, it was neck and neck because of the prior awards. Seeing Michael B. Jordan win, I think it was the actor award. So I'm just interested in that one. I think that's going to be one to follow, and they'll be talking about that for a little while.
I think so.
It's a lesson in what to say and what not to say.
We'll probably talk to you about it. All right, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stay with us for more news.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.